It's the end of 2024, and you know what that means. Obligatory top 10 games list. Yeah, I sing sometimes. Just let it happen. What's going on, folks? My name's Josh. You can call me Anoriand. And as per usual, I'm throwing down my top 10 games of the year. Now, as per usual as well, this is my top 10 games of the year. I'm not going off of like how games were scored or whatever, or trying to tell you about games I didn't play. Astrobot's not going to make the list because I didn't play it. I really want it. I haven't gotten it yet. If anybody want to get it for me, I'm just saying, there's a link to my throne down in the description. But anyways, forget about that. The point is, I didn't get to play Astrobot, okay? So that's not going to be on the list. Dragon Age Veilguard, not going to be on the list. Black Myth Wukong, not going to be on the list. There's a lot of games that came out, not going to be on the list. What are going to be on the list are my personal top 10 games. The other rule is I do not put remasters on this list. A remake I will put if it is fundamentally different enough from the original game. So next year when the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters come out, hello, you know how I feel about Suikoden 2, that's not going to appear on the list. So, with that in mind, these are my top 10 games of 2024. Number 10. Princess Peach Showtime. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this game did not blow anyone away. I don't think it needed to. It was fun. It was a good time. It was simple. The different outfits and costumes were all fun to play with. The level gags were great. I loved the collection aspect with the dresses and for the star that follows you around. I just really enjoyed the whole thing. I loved a lot of the comedy. I will say that I do wish that they used a system instead where you can mix and match the different level gimmicks in other levels to creatively find all the star shines that are in the levels. But for what's here, it was a good time. I definitely didn't have any issue with it. And if you can pick it up, especially on a discount, I highly recommend it. It's a fun little jaunt, and it kind of works as a great palate cleanser between big, huge playthroughs.
What's that? Thank you very much.
Number 9. Visions of Mana. I said it when I did my review video on it, and I retain it. This is probably my favorite Mana game to date, and I will say, it gives me the same feeling that Legend of Mana gave me as a kid. I loved Visions of Mana. I love the art style. I love the whole overarching story and how it was bittersweet in the way it handled a bunch of things. I loved the characters and the mechanics. I loved so many things about it. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was an excellent game that really resonated with me and left me feeling like I truly experienced something when I got to the end of it. And it's the type of game I could absolutely see myself playing through again, which is, trust me, a compliment with the amount of time I have. Number 8. Helldivers 2. For liberty, soldier! Listen, Helldivers 2 is excellent because of the satire. That is just a fact. But the game itself is also really fun. Going into a planet, exploring around, getting into a gunfight with a whole swarm of enemies, teammates rushing in and saving you, or you being the one to come in when your teammates are pinned down, it is an awesome online feeling. And the fact that it is all collective PvE is a huge part of it for me. Yeah, PvP games are fun. One of them will feature further up on this list. But I love the idea of how everyone's working together. There is no player versus player combat. So collectively, you want your team to do well. And just the atmosphere that it actually cultivates, when added in with all the silly satire and the liberty of it all, really just makes this an excellent time. I have loved all my time spent with Helldivers. I will be spending a lot more time with it.
Become a hero. Become a legend. Become a Helldiver.
Number 7. Iudin Chronicle 100 Heroes. This game was honestly something I think would have been in Game of the Year contention for me before the year started, but then so many great games came out that I wasn't even aware of or ready for. And also, I will be honest, my experience was marred for a bit because I was playing the Nintendo Switch version, which had so many issues. If you decide to get Iudin Chronicle yourself, please do yourself a favor and get it in either PC format or on the PlayStation version. That being said, even with all the issues I had, this was still one of the best games I played this year. The story really got to me. The characters got to me. The character designs were wacky and silly. Sharks that inhabit the desert and refuse to go in water because that would be crazy. You know, elves that stand out in their own cool way. All these awesome character designs, all this world building. The rune lens system was excellent. And above it all, really, it brought me exactly what I needed as someone whose favorite game was Suikoden 2, and with this being a spiritual successor. I do hope to see more from Rabbit and Bear Studios, and I do really hope that looking back on it, when I do replay this game inevitably, my biggest issues were from the first playthrough's technical issues, because I really loved everything else about this game. And I only wish it could have been higher, but I do have to be honest that getting constantly booted from the game during my playthrough, which I live streamed by the way, that's why my face is in the corner, really did a number on my thoughts. You will never break
Our
us!
friends, our families, and our homes. And you will never break us!
Yeah! I like Angry Noah. Number 6. Unicorn Overlord. Hey, unsurprisingly, Vanillaware has done it again. The studio that only seems to put out hits has continued to put out hits. Vanillaware has put out some excellent hits. Dragon's Crown, Odin's Sphere, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and Unicorn Overlord is no exception. It uses that familiar Vanillaware art style that looks hand-drawn, like a storybook being told in front of you, while also putting together gameplay we have not really seen since the Ogre Battle games on the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, is actually my favorite N64 game of all time, so getting the first game I can truly call on that has a similar combat system, combining real-time strategy with turn-based combat, just truly sings to my soul. The story is excellent. The characters are excellent. You keep getting into these situations where you are introduced to a villain, and yet, even though they're an antagonist, within a single chapter, you understand their motivations, and with many of them, you don't want to have to defeat them, because they grow on you immediately. They've just done such a good job of making all these characters and this world realized that this is absolutely, out of every game on this list, going to be the one that I am most likely to replay at the beginning of the new year and onward into the future. All different class combinations and unit combinations, there's just so many things you can do with it.
'Tis a noble cause to stand in defense of those who can't defend themselves. It's one I aspire to myself. Let us take up that fight together.
Number 5. Marvel Rivals. Is it just third-person Overwatch with a Marvel skin? Yes. Do I love it anyways? Yes. I put countless hours into Overwatch. By the time I had walked away from Overwatch officially, I was well into 50-something levels past my 3rd star rank. I had been playing for a while. I loved the game. I just needed to walk away. Marvel Rivals gives me the fresh spin that I needed from it. The characters all feel familiar and yet new and interesting. Punisher may have a very similar turret to Bastion and be my favorite character, but he plays totally differently. Jeff is just perfect, and I want to hug him, and I want a plushie of Jeff in the dolphin outfit. The characters all just feel correct to who they are, correct to the game, and new and fresh. I love the gameplay for feeling familiar while also feeling smooth in the way I needed to. I immediately have just completely collapsed on this game, and the fact that it snuck as high as it did in my top 5, despite coming out at the end of the year, is proof of how much I've enjoyed my time with it. Number 4. Batro. Look, y'all, it was nominated Game of the Year for a reason. Batro is amazing. It's incredible. It is a roguelike poker game. And that's it. And I know, before the year started, if I said, hey, you want to play roguelike poker? Any normal reaction is to look and go, the hell are you talking about? What? But that's the game. You go through these runs, and you just play poker, and you keep doing, quote, builds with the jokers, and I can't express enough how addicting it is. When I went to record footage for this game, for this purpose of this video, I gotta tell y'all, I normally sit and I'll play for about 30 minutes to an hour at a time when I'm recording the footage for these things, if it's not grabbed off of an existing stream, and I'll maybe grab some chunks here and there. I played almost 3 hours. I just kept playing. I didn't want to stop. I ended up beating a run accidentally, just grabbing random jokers for the purpose of the video. Like, it's that good. It's just a good time. If anyone told me it's their game of the year, I'm not gonna disagree with them, because you can just sink days into it without even trying. That is as addictive as it gets. Number 3. Metaphor, Rifantatio. Rifantasio? I don't really know. All I know is this game rules. See, the thing about Metaphor isn't that it's just a great Atlas game. It is. It's 100% another great Atlas game. And it feels very evocative of all the Mega 10 or Persona games you've played. But what makes Metaphor so great is the world and the characters and their unabashed willingness to get into social issues and classism and racism and all of these other things and how they're intertwined, and do so full on without any sort of pullback. This allows the story to hit very hard as you see very real things all at once. So the characters can then be fully realized in their motivations as you're playing. Stroll's motivations, as what he's gone through, make sense. The main character's motivations as Anelda make sense. All of these things add up together to create a story that you want to keep experiencing. And that is all buttressed by a game that has great fundamental combat, and also has great options like the ability to just hit enemies out of combat. So when you're running through an area to try and go backtrack, or because you want to grind up, or because you want to look for anything you might have missed or whatever, the weak enemies, you don't have to sit through the turn-based combat to get through it. You can just beat the hell out of them. It makes it so much smoother because you know what is and isn't a challenge, and you can kind of progress so much more easily as a result. It's a fun game. It's a great time. It's a long game, but it's one that I'm actually willing to put the time into. And that right there is about as high of a compliment as I can give.
One has to ask, them dead, who shall take the throne?
Number 2. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, if you know me, you may have expected this game to be number 1. And you would not necessarily be wrong. I battled back and forth on whether this was going to be my number 1 game this year, but it did get edged out. But that doesn't mean it's because it's a bad game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is everything I could have asked for in the next step of this remake trilogy. Final Fantasy VII Remake blew me away, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth made that look like nothing. The scale of size in the world is massive. Whether you're running around on chocobos, using different forms of chocobo exploration in the different areas you go to, or even going onto the tiny Bronco and going around in the ocean, there are so many things that just make this world feel grander and grander the further along you go. Getting to experience areas like Gongaga, or Corel, or Nibel, or any of these places, Costa del Sol, as you're going through, just feels so incredible as someone who has been with this game since it first released. And seeing all these moments and these story beats that you know, but different enough, makes so much more impact. Even if you've never played the original, a bunch of them still hit. But if you have played the original, you get extra context, like paying close attention to the 2 security officers inside the truck at the beginning of the flashback, and close attention to one of them and the hair color and everything underneath the helmet. Things like that matter, and it's really, really cool. And the game plays out awesome. It's excellent for the things it changes, it's also excellent for the things it brings back. And truly, I couldn't have asked for more, and all I really asked for is I just want the 3rd part to come soon so that I can see how this whole thing comes to a crescendo at the end. But I love everything about it. I even love the mini-games, the combat simulator. I don't really have much I could truly ask to change about 7 Rebirth, other than, bring me part 3!
Mark my words. Next time, I'm gonna be the leading lady.
And sing the Materia song?
Just you wait.
And my number 1 game of 2024 is Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. The funny thing about these is my number 2 game a couple years back was Yakuza Like a Dragon, and my number 1 game that year was Final Fantasy VII Remake. And so the inversion here is kind of cool, but I just couldn't help it. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth gave me absolutely everything I could want and then some. It's not just that it gave me the next stage of Ichiban's story. It's not just that it brought back Kiryu and allowed me to kind of put his story to rest in a way that it truly deserved. It's not just that I got to see these 2 legends standing next to each other, for good or for ill at various moments. It's not just that we finally got a full expansion of this world, heading as far as Hawaii to truly expand what could be done. It is all of this combined, and then the fact that the story is willing to go to some truly deep and potent places. Very personal things, very worldly things, and everything in between. On a macro level, you deal with things like colonialism and the nature of homelessness and gang wars and international usage of gangs and other things in order to create surpluses and everything you can imagine under the sun. On a micro level, you're dealing with character relationships. You're dealing with relationships gone wrong, with people who overstep boundaries. You're dealing with illness of the harshest variety, and everything in between. And throughout the whole thing, Like a Dragon never loses its core. It doesn't take itself seriously while being so deadly serious. It introduces you to new enemies who you immediately hate, new friends who you immediately love, new enemies who you love too much that become friends, new friends who turn out to be enemies, and every combination otherwise that you can think of. It has everything you can imagine for side quests, from deep imparting moments where you're trying to save the lives of people, to having to save a hermit crab because someone's trying to take it from the beach, and it falls in love with your pet lobster, and now the 2 of them are a summon spell together. You go on gig economy trips, having to deliver stuff by a bike in order to make money, and all the while, you're dodging international crime syndicates. I can't put into words the fact that it refuses to take itself seriously is exactly why it is so seriously incredible, and the fact that the game gives you so much without ever feeling the need to cut back, but it never feels like it overstays its welcome, is the proof of a great game. It truly did everything I could have asked, and more multiple times over, and it gave me a step in this series that I don't think I could ever possibly forget. And the only question I have is where they can possibly go from here. Because they really have outdone themselves, but that's what RGG Studios does. And that's why this is truly the greatest adventure that I went on this year.
Alright, it's hero time. Nanba, Adachi-san, we made names for ourselves as the heroes of Yokohama once before. Let's remind this town just what we're all about, yeah? Hell yeah! Right behind you. Yeah!
So that's my list. I don't know if you agree, but that's how I felt. Like I said, I did not get to play every game that came out this year. I didn't get to play Astrobot. I didn't get to play Dragon Age Veilguard. I don't own either of them. Like, I don't got them. I didn't play the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC, which, you know, got nominated. I mean, we're not going to touch all that stuff. We're going to keep it moving, you know what I'm saying? We don't need to touch all that stuff. But the point is, I didn't get to play all those games because I didn't own them. If there's any game you want to see me play and you really think, like, hey, you need to play this because you're going to enjoy it that much, again, I've got a coffee down below. I've got a throne where you can recommend things. You can always get it for me, and if someone ever gets me a game, you'll be dang sure that I'm going to play it. But we've got some new stuff coming on the channel. If you've been paying attention to my live streams, I have been doing some RPG challenges. I'm going to take each of those and kind of condense them down into short-form videos for y'all to enjoy. We've done Final Fantasy IV with only Edward. We've done Chrono Trigger with only Frog. I'm currently in the midst of Final Fantasy I with a composite red mage party, which is exactly as stupid as it sounds, and I can't really explain in the short term of this video, so you're just going to have to go watch that or wait for the video there to come out. I got some interview videos coming out shortly. Hint, hint. We're going to be with voice actors. The first one that's coming out is with my very good friend Sam Bayard. I'm really excited for it. And I'm really looking forward to 2025. But before we get into the new year, or if it's the new year and you're watching this, and that's just how it worked out, whatever, leave a comment down below. Tell me, what were your top games of 2024? You can give me a whole list. You can give me just one or two. Whatever applies to you. But what stood out to you? What did you play that really made your heart sing? Let me know. What do you think I missed? What do you think? What do you disagree on as far as my list compared to how you rank things? And what games are you looking forward to in 2025? I know we got Dynasty Warriors coming out, and we got the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remaster coming out. And I don't care if that second one's not coming on the list. I am excited for both. And I'm really looking forward to them, and I think it's going to be a great time, and it's going to be a great year for me, specifically, in that regard. And we're not going to worry about the fact that I'm saying that as I've actively got a broken finger, because, hey, what else could go wrong? What else? What else can go wrong? This is where the existential dread sets in, isn't it? Like, comment, subscribe.